the USS Tennessee. A marvel of modern military engineering, a state-of-the-art nuclear-powered submarine, a silent guardian of the deep oceans. Capable of diving to staggering depths exceeding 400 meters, it moves through the water with the stealth of a ghost. Inside its sleek hull, it carries a payload so destructive it could annihilate an entire continent. It's the epitome of naval power, a floating fortress designed for deterrence and defense. One would think that no adversary would dare to challenge such a formidable weapon. Yet history has a way of shattering even the strongest illusions. In the chilling pre-dawn hours of August 5, 2025, beneath the icy dark waters of the Norwegian Sea, everything changed. What was supposed to be a routine patrol quickly turned into a life-or-death battle beneath the waves. The USS Tennessee was ambushed. This was no ordinary attack. It was sudden, precise, and terrifyingly calculated. Just one day earlier, the world had been shaken by a bold announcement from U.S. President Donald Trump. Speaking to the press, Trump revealed that he had deployed not one, but 2 nuclear submarines to strategic positions near Russia. The declaration was intended as a clear deterrent, a warning shot across the bow in a tense geopolitical chess game. But what followed was far from mere posturing. Only hours after the announcement, the USS Tennessee found itself under attack. Was it coincidence? Or was this a stealth strike orchestrated in retaliation from the shadowy depths? The answer would come soon enough, and it sent shockwaves through the corridors of power in Washington, D.C. Upon discovering the identity of their assailants, American military leaders didn't pause for lengthy diplomatic debate or await a United Nations resolution. The USS Tennessee's crew was ordered to retaliate immediately. The predator had become the prey. What really happened in those frozen depths? Why did a seemingly minor explosion threaten to push 2 of the world's greatest military superpowers dangerously close to nuclear war? If you want to understand the grim reality of underwater warfare, to learn what happens when a nuclear submarine is ambushed in the silent void of the ocean, follow closely. Because what came next was a cold, calculated counterattack. A war fought with unseen weapons, silent drones, and torpedoes that hunted relentlessly. Chapter 1. The Calm Before the Storm. The Norwegian Sea was frigid and still in the early hours of August 5th. On the surface, nothing betrayed the tension hidden beneath. But beneath the water's murky veil, a deadly game had already begun. Just 72 hours earlier, President Trump's announcement had sent ripples through the global security environment. 2 American nuclear submarines, the USS Tennessee, an Ohio-class ballistic missile sub, and the USS New Mexico, a Virginia-class attack sub, had been quietly deployed to shadow Russia's northern flank. They were operating in one of the most strategically significant and dangerous maritime corridors in the world, the G.A.U.K. Gap. This stretch of ocean, named after Greenland, Iceland, and the United Kingdom, was a flashpoint during the Cold War and remained a critical choke point for naval operations. The Tennessee slipped away from its base at Kings Bay, Georgia, weeks earlier, traversing the icy waters of the North Atlantic under a cloak of silence. The New Mexico accompanied it, tasked with screening, reconnaissance, and rapid response if needed. Back on land, the media debated endlessly. Was Trump's nuclear deployment a genuine move, or just a bluff designed to gain leverage before the upcoming G7 summit? But in the naval command centers, the mood was grim and alert. Chapter 2. The First Signs. At 11:47 p.m. on August 4th, Norway's naval acoustic sensors picked up something unusual. The sensitive hydrophones detected a low hum, a faint mechanical whirring unlike anything in normal sea traffic. It wasn't a whale song, nor was it a fishing boat or a civilian drone. The sound was characteristic of small electric motors powering autonomous underwater vehicles, or UUVs. These new underwater drones, developed by the Russian Navy, were designed for stealthy reconnaissance and sabotage missions. The drones moved with an eerie silence, ghost-like in their precision, and they were heading directly toward the American submarines. Chapter 3. The Ambush. At 2:13 a.m., aboard the USS Tennessee, Captain Will Harper was in the command center, scanning the latest sonar data relayed from the USS New Mexico. On the 3D tactical display, a small object approximately 3 meters long was detected circling the Tennessee's hull. It appeared to be scanning or mapping the submarine with an uncanny focus. Initially, the crew assumed it might be a civilian research drone, lost or off course. But the pattern changed. On the drone's third pass, it suddenly stopped mid-orbit, and then it disappeared from sonar altogether. The silence that followed was unsettling. It lasted exactly 6 minutes. Then the water erupted with violence. A massive pressure wave, originating from the seabed just 120 meters from the Tennessee's hull, slammed through the water like a shockwave from an explosion. The impact knocked out the submarine's electrical systems entirely for 3 terrifying seconds, long enough to force every sensor into a complete reset. Emergency auxiliary lights flickered on, casting the control room in a ghostly glow. The blast's force threw one engineer violently against a steel railing. The man's head struck metal with fatal consequence. For a long moment, no one aboard the Tennessee spoke. They didn't know if they were under attack or if some terrible accident had just occurred. Outside, a faint but telling crack appeared along the bow of the hull. It wasn't enough to cause the submarine to lose control, but it forced the entire pressure control system into emergency auxiliary mode. Meanwhile, aboard the USS New Mexico, the radar officer confirmed a new detection. An unknown submarine, 9 nautical miles away. Its signature was unmistakable, a Russian Yasin-class attack submarine. Chapter 4. The Aftermath. By 7:06 a.m., a P-8 Poseidon maritime reconnaissance aircraft had been launched from RAF Lossiemouth. Equipped with advanced sonar buoys and magnetic anomaly detectors, the plane scanned the waters for clues. Within 2 hours, it found 3 critical pieces of evidence: the wreckage of a destroyed UUV floating near the explosion site, a thin, shimmering oil slick tracing the path of the blast, a drifting thermal signature moving northeast, deeper into international waters between Norway and Russia. The conclusion was unavoidable. This was not an accident. Someone, or some nation, had deliberately targeted an American ballistic missile submarine. Chapter 5. The World on Edge. By noon, the U.S. Naval Command had raised the alert level to 2 for the entire North Atlantic region. The 6th Fleet was ordered to reposition, ready to respond to further aggression. Civilian air traffic over the Norwegian Sea was restricted for 72 hours. At the Pentagon, a 17-page classified report was hurriedly drafted and placed on the desk of the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Its headline, highlighted in urgent red ink, read, USS Tennessee, suspected sabotage event, confirmed. The world held its breath. Epilogue. The silent war below. What began as a shadowy underwater confrontation would soon escalate into a cold, relentless counterattack. Mk-48 torpedoes were deployed, the silent hunters of the deep. Unmanned underwater drones roamed the ocean floor, gathering intelligence and hunting enemy targets with ruthless efficiency. Every command was executed with deadly precision, every move calculated to outmaneuver the hidden enemy. Beneath the cold waves of the Norwegian Sea, a deadly chess game continued, one with stakes higher than the world had seen in decades. And as the 2 superpowers edged closer to the brink, the question remained: who would make the next move? And would it be the one to finally shatter the fragile peace forever? As the afternoon sun barely warmed the frigid Norwegian Sea, the USS Tennessee and its escort, the USS New Mexico, cautiously ascended 50 meters from their standard operating depth. Both crews were on edge. No one dared risk falling into another trap lurking beneath the waves. The ocean around them was eerily silent, save for the soft hum of their own vessels slicing through the cold water. Suddenly, at precisely 1:42 p.m., the sonar operators aboard the Tennessee picked up a new, unmistakable sound. A deep mechanical whirring, distinct and relentless, the unmistakable noise of a water turbine engine closing fast. This was no reconnaissance drone this time. It was a predator. The entire crew of the USS Tennessee instantly understood the gravity of the situation. They were being hunted, not by an unmanned vehicle or a torpedo, but by a living, breathing, manned submarine. The worst-case scenario was unfolding in real time. Their tracker was almost certainly a Russian Yasen-class nuclear-powered attack submarine. A vessel designed for one terrifying purpose: to hunt down and destroy massive, silent giants like the Ohio-class Tennessee. Chapter 7. The First Clash. On the control deck of the USS New Mexico, Captain Thomas Vargas, commander of the Virginia-class escort, acted without hesitation. "Deploy the SLQ-25 Nixie decoy," he ordered sharply. Moments later, the Nixie system emitted a series of acoustic signals designed to confuse and mislead any incoming torpedoes. The New Mexico then dove sharply, descending below 500 meters, into a deep acoustic blind spot where sonar reflections were weak and erratic. Combat status was engaged. Less than a minute later, a low, ominous rumble echoed through the water. Detitati. Torpedo had self-destructed after losing its lock on the target. The first attack had come, but it had missed. Thanks to the clever deployment of the Nixie decoy and evasive maneuvering, the enemy's torpedo had been forced off course. Without a moment's pause, the New Mexico retaliated. Two heavy Mk-48 torpedoes thundered from its stern tubes. One torpedo ricocheted off the seabed, using the ocean floor to mask its approach, while the other took a wide arc, positioning itself to strike from the flank. A deadly underwater chase had begun. A cat-and-mouse game played out in sonar blips, magnetic signals, and the faint heat signatures invisible to the naked eye. Chapter 8. The Hunter's Identity. Though the Americans couldn't be absolutely certain, the characteristics of the unknown contact were telling. The speed, the heat signature, the sudden evasive maneuvers, they matched perfectly with the K-561 Kazan, the latest Yasen-M submarine from Russia's Northern Fleet. This 130-meter-long Leviathan carried not only heavy torpedoes, but also formidable caliber cruise missiles, an underwater juggernaut designed for stealth and lethality. The message was clear. The American nuclear submarine was being hunted, but this time, it was striking back. Chapter 9. The Evidence. At 2:50 p.m., the USS New Mexico launched an autonomous underwater vehicle, a reconnaissance UUV equipped with advanced sonar and magnetic sensors. Its mission: to scout ahead, uncover any hidden threats, and gather intelligence. 30 minutes later, the drone relayed its grim discovery. 700 meters from the site of the morning's explosion, the UUV found a large metal object lying on the seabed. The hull was ruptured, wires exposed and sparking. Beside it floated a thin slick of oil with the unmistakable smell of emulsion explosives, a type commonly used in limpet mines designed to attach to a submarine's hull. This was no accident or random drift. The USS Tennessee had been sabotaged. The explosion was deliberate. Chapter 10. The Waiting Game. Deep beneath the waves at over 400 meters, the Tennessee held its defensive position. The crack in the hull had been temporarily reinforced with sound-dampening rubber, muffling the subtle groans of stressed metal. The Trident II D5 missile system remained locked down in safe mode. No one aboard had any desire to escalate beyond control, yet tension hung thick in the air. Was this only the opening salvo, or was a full-scale underwater war imminent? Chapter 11. The Second Strike. At 4:12 p.m., a second, clearer sound shattered the tense silence. A torpedo was inbound, direct, fast, and deadly, traveling at over 60 knots, bearing 119 degrees, distance 700 meters, closing fast. The sonar operator shouted, the words cutting through the control room like a knife. Captain Harper didn't hesitate. "Deploy, Nixie! Full power on jamming," he ordered. Seconds later, a plume of underwater turbulence erupted 60 meters behind the Tennessee's stern. Near the engine section, the torpedo self-destructed, fooled once again. The entire control room shook from the close call. Chapter 12. The American Counterattack. Immediately, the USS New Mexico retaliated with deadly precision. A third Mk-48 torpedo launched from its tubes, set this time to hunter-killer mode, a fully autonomous weapon programmed to seek and destroy. Based on acoustic signatures, no guidance needed. For the next 15 tense minutes, all acoustic contact with the enemy vanished. The hunter had momentarily disappeared into the abyss. Chapter 13. The Surface Signal. At 6:02 p.m., the calm above the sea was broken. A P-8 Poseidon reconnaissance aircraft from RAF Lossiemouth entered the airspace. From 6,000 meters high, it released a series of sonar buoys into the ocean below. Minutes later, radar technicians at the command station confirmed a fleeting 3.7-second sonar signal detected 4 nautical miles east of the USS New Mexico's coordinates. The signature was unmistakable. A Yasen submarine surfacing briefly for an emergency air purge. Chapter 14. The Retaliation. At 6:45 p.m., back in the Pentagon's Tactical Command Center, the alert level from Atlantic Command escalated to 3. The room was tense. A senior commander pointed at the screen and declared, "We are authorized to retaliate. Our submarine was attacked, and we have clear evidence of sabotage." Epilogue. The hunt begins. The surface of the Norwegian Sea remained deceptively calm. But far beneath, a deadly retaliatory hunt was about to commence. The hunter was now the hunted. The stage was set for a silent war beneath the waves, a battle of shadows, steel, and secrets in the cold heart of the Norwegian. C-703 mm. August 5th, 2025. As the Nordic sun slid beneath the horizon, the surface world remained calm. A quiet evening sky draped over still waters, but more than 400 meters below, silence gave way to conflict. A war without a declaration had already begun. This time, however, the American submarine was not the hunted. It had become the hunter. The enemy's position had been triangulated. A USP-8 Poseidon aircraft locked onto coordinates after detecting a fleeting heat signature. Year 3. 7 seconds of exposure, enough to betray the presence of the Russian submarine K-561 Kazan, a Yasen M-class attack vessel. It was wounded, likely damaged by an earlier Mk-48 strike, but not destroyed. Still armed, still operational, it remained a clear and immediate threat. Its target, the USS Tennessee, a ballistic missile submarine carrying over 20 Trident II D5 intercontinental missiles, each with multiple nuclear warheads capable of annihilation on a global scale. In the calculus of the U.S. Navy, this was unacceptable. A repeat engagement could not be allowed.